Welcome to the channel. I have got perhaps one of the funniest interviews with Kathleen Kennedy ever. Literally straight from the off. This interview is hilarious. And it just goes to show the utter mismanagement behind Disney and Star Wars. But also, ladies and gentlemen, also really, really important to note here, how the media are now sort of not towing the line when it comes to Disney. Because some of these questions, oh boy. Now this is over on Gizmodo. It's just an interview with Kathleen Kennedy on the long road to ending the Skywalker saga. Right? First question. We're just going to go through the interview because it is hilarious. When you made The Force Awakens, obviously there was some discussion about where this could all go. You'd like to hope so, right? Rian Johnson then came in and took the story in his direction. And now J.J. Abrams is back to finish everything up. Looking back, was there a reason why the beats of the entire trilogy weren't cemented? Around episode... around episode 7. And has that lack of structure been a benefit in retrospect? I mean, Jesus Christ. It's funny, right? That as a starting off question is great. And here we go, right? Her response. Well, first of all, when we sat down to do The Force Awakens, we spent a great deal of time working out all 3 movies and doing a real deep dive on the previous 6 and talking about that. Understanding the mythology that George Lucas had created, bringing in people who had worked on those films, being a part of Lucasfilm. We brought in 2 or 3 different writers. There were, 8 of us usually sitting in that room and whiteboarding what the possibilities are and looking at character arcs, identifying. I mean, what? So in actuality, you only had 2 writers, 2 or 3 writers that were in that room, and 5 people that were just all about the money. Well, you can clearly see the disparity there, can't you? You can clearly see why the stories have not turned out very well from a narrative perspective. Again, anyone with half a brain cell can tell you that. Narratively, the stories suck. They don't, plot-wise, they don't string together well. Because one of them was a flip on its head, let's try to subvert expectations, which is really just code word for we can't make a good story, so whatever, here you go. Here's the biggest pile of crap we could just flush down the toilet and into your eyeballs. Only 2 or 3 writers out of a room of 8 people. That's bad. Trying to hash out stories. You only got 2 or 3 writers. God damn. It should be the other way around. It should be like 5 writers and only 2 or 3 people that are there as producers and the money men. So there you go, straight off the bat. That's why some of this stuff sucks. Now it says, because George had already gone to Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill to do the film. So we knew that was a given, that we were bringing them back into the trilogy and we're introducing new characters. So we had a sense of where this was going. Basically, George Lucas had done a lot of the legwork for you. But the important thing is, I like to look at the first 3 movies that George did, where he had different directors. He was really serving as the producing role in that. And we were doing a similar kind of thing, which is don't align yourself with George Lucas. And he's not anything to be, you know, bowing down to at the altar of George, because the prequels, everyone seems to forget the prequels. And his incessant need to constantly change things. It's very strange. He was really serving blah blah blah. It says, which is identifying a genre and really allowing a filmmaker, and in the case of JJ and Ryan, huge Star Wars fans, and allowing them to get immersed, to find the centre of the story and then make it their own. It's obviously important, as George has always said, to have meaning in these movies. And as a director, I think every director should have something to say in what it is that they're trying to do, and they need to find what's personal for them. Didn't Rian Johnson write The Last Jedi? Didn't J.J. Abrams write The Force Awakens? Isn't J.J. Abrams writing The Rise of Skywalker? Correct me if I'm wrong. Just unbelievable. So it continues with this PR spin bollocks. In addition to something like Star Wars, which has this incredible fan base that cares so deeply that wants to believe that we're as immersed in that process as they are, that they want to believe it. Yeah, but they're trying desperately. That we're looking at the nuances and the importance of the mythology as they are. And I can tell you that that is absolutely what goes on. It is not. So you say cemented. I don't think anything's ever cemented with Star Wars. It can't be. It's so rich with possibility that you don't want to reach a point where you think you've made a decision and then not leave yourself open to exploring other possibilities and other considerations. Basically, we done fudged up. You've called us out on it, but we're going to spin this as something quite good. Just, what? Anyway, it continues, right? And I've certainly found in the 7 years now that we've been doing that, and that's what makes this so fun, as we add people to the family and those voices become important voices to the creative process. Stop it. You get a lot of smart people in the room, but only 2 or 3 of them are writers, which is why you're getting bad stories. Michelle, Rejwan, and I say this movie in particular had such a tremendous blah 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 blah. I don't care about this. Michelle, for anyone that doesn't know, Michelle is this one here. She's just another producer. We don't really care what she's got to say. So I am just going to be kind of blanking it out because really it's Kathleen Kennedy that has the voice here. Michelle's just another producer. She doesn't care. It's not that important. You say you can't cement anything in Star Wars, and yet the marketing calls this the end of the Skywalker saga. No matter what happens in this movie, the story could go on, so it isn't putting that label on it creatively constrictive. This interview is really good. And this is what I mean. The tide is turning. The media can no longer not call them out on it. It's a bit like blatant PR spin here. You know, we don't want to say cemented because, you know, nothing's ever cemented and we don't want to constrict ourselves creatively. You've just said nothing's ever cemented, but this is the last of the Skywalker saga. Do you care to explain yourself, please? It's only creatively constrictive with regards to the Skywalkers, because the saga really refers to the Skywalker family, and that's what we're bringing to a conclusion. There is an inevitability with that because of the actors and the characters they're playing. So that's really what we're looking at more than anything. At least in my lifetime, there's never going to be an end to Star Wars. So this isn't the end of Star Wars, it's the end of that family saga. Yeah, we know that, dipshit. Everyone is well aware of that. He says specifically, you know, no matter what happens in this movie, the story could go on, so he isn't putting that label on it creatively constrictive. He's well aware of that. And then continues further, right? Obviously, J.J. Abrams wasn't the first director attached to this movie, so without spoiling anything, what was it about Colin Trevorrow's version that didn't work? Well, I wouldn't say it didn't work. Colin was at a huge disadvantage not having been a part of The Force Awakens and in part of those early conversations. Was Rian Johnson in those early conversations? Was he? I don't recall any of that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't recall any of that. Because we had a general sense of where the story was going. Like any development process, it was only in the development that we're looking at a first draft and realising that it was perhaps heading in a direction that many of us didn't feel was really quite where we wanted it to go. And we were on a schedule, as we often are with these movies, and had to make a tough decision as to whether or not we thought we could get there in the time or not. And as I said, Colin was at a disadvantage because he hadn't been immersed in everything that we all had started out with episode 7. That sounds like absolute balls, doesn't it? Like, what are you talking about? Seriously, what are you talking about? Utter nonsense here. Even Jasper thinks it's nonsense. Don't you, mate? He does. He does think it's nonsense. Jasper merch underneath the video. So anyway, it continues, right? One of the big decisions made by JJ and Chris Terrio was bringing back the Emperor in some form. Was there a worry that bringing back the villain of the previous 2 trilogies would undercut the endings achieved in those 2 trilogies? I can't wait for the spin. It's from Michelle. Whatever. What does she say? I think there was a feeling of inevitability that Palpatine had been a part of all 3 and in the biggest picture of 9 movies. No! There was not. There's not. There's not at all. I love it when producers come out in these interviews and say this stuff and projects it out there into the world to make people think it. That's what they're doing here. Ladies and gents, I don't think anyone thought that the Emperor was really behind everything again. Like, Snoke was labelled as something which was more powerful than the Emperor. He was said to be more powerful than Palpatine. He was said to be more powerful than Vader. They really, really pegged this dude as being the ultimate beast. And then he just gets chopped up and killed. Like, fuck, ridiculous. You keep telling yourself that. Basically, this whole thing is just total nonsense. Like, it really is. And it goes on and on and on. Like, when it comes to an end there. But there's really not that much else there that says it all. A lot of it, these questions and stuff like this here, really do, to me anyway, show that the media on a whole are going massively against Disney now. You can't deny it. Or the media can't deny it anymore. Like, these major outlets. How can you deny the shit show that is Star Wars? And just the nonsense that's been happening with it all? It's so difficult. So anyway, I thought I'd bring you this video. What do you think? What do you think? Let me know down below in the comment section. If you are new here, make sure you do hit subscribe. Head on over to my Teespring store. It's not showing up underneath the videos yet, but I actually have exclusive Xenomorph Christmas merch. You will actually really like it. It's pretty damn cool. So check that out. And also, if you want to support the channel, hey, buy one of them. And also pledge over on Patreon, which is linked in the description box. Thanks so much for watching, though, guys. Have a missed age. Take care.